Wednesday, July 15th, 2025. And of course, a lot's going in on the world, and we'll be talking about that here on the Pod TV. So, lots taking place in the world, and we'll definitely be covering that, including the fact that Israel has targeted Syrian military in a renewed cross border strikes. So, Netanyahu confirmed the IDF strike on Syrian forces in Sweden to prevent harm to Druze. And definitely that is something that is going on as we're having clashes between the Bedouin and the Druze in Syria that has killed more than 50, according to what health officials and rights groups say, and all along those lines. And a military exercise drawing together 19 nations and 35,000 forces begins in Australia. So, Australia hosts the largest ever Talisman Sabre military exercise. And so, in the hills of Australia, Pacific allies are training to fight China. And that was recorded in the Wall Street Journal. So definitely, it looks like Australia has fired its first HIMARS long-range rocket in war games with the U.S. And the UK launched a secret scheme to relocate Afghans after data leak, documents show. Thousands were offered UK asylum in a secret scheme after personal data of Afghans who helped British forces was leaked by mistake. And the UK set up a secret Afghan immigration scheme after that data leak and the gagged media. So that is something that folks are talking about as well. And Netanyahu's governing coalition is fracturing. So Netanyahu is under mounting pressure or mounting political pressure after a party quits. So it looks like his governing coalition is fracturing, and we'll see what this means in terms of the future of Israel and Gaza. So Israel's ultra Orthodox party quits the Netanyahu government over conscription. And it blazes in Northern Ireland. Recall an old message: "You are not welcome here." So Una Molale, Cara Starmer, was quick to condemn a kneecap, but strangely silent on Mokashel. So effigies of refugees set alight on a bonfire condemned in Northern Ireland. So that is something that folks are talking about as well. And as theories swirl about the Air India crash, key details remain unknown. Speculation and blame follow the first official report on the deadly Air India crash. Boeing flight bound for India turned around in midair, and that was reported on today. So it looks like they're still having some problems in some of their flights, even on today as well. And Australia-China relations out of the trial, but security tensions weigh on the Prime Minister's visit. So Australian Premier Albanese is to meet Chinese Xi in Beijing. Australia and China are calling for more dialogue and cooperation at the leaders' meeting. And definitely we'll see how this goes as the Australian leader is walking a fine line between Xi and Trump in China. And 1 in 10 children in Gaza are suffering from malnutrition, according to the UNRWA. So that is something that was taking place after they were screened in those clinics run by that agency and all along those lines. So that is definitely a humanitarian concern that is going on as well. And Japan warns of China's military moves as the biggest strategic challenge. Japan complains to ambassador over Chinese fighter incident, and Japan's defense paper ups concerns over China's probing activities. And Nigeria's former leader, Barre, is to be buried on Tuesday. That would be today. Officials say, "I belong to nobody. My wife belonged to the Ode Room." Some popular quotes of the Bahari when EBA the office. So that is something that one of his quotes and everything like that. So definitely we'll see what folks have to say about this leader that is now going into the realm of the ancestors. And Israeli bombs Gaza refugee camps. Settlers attack West Bank village. IDF admits error in the deadly strike on the water delivery site as truce talks stay jammed. And that's something that folks are talking about as well. And China launches a new spacesuits, other supplies to the Tiangong space station. So it looks like China has launched its Tianzhou 9 to Tiangong space station with record cargo and upgraded EVA suits. So it looks like they might be getting some upgraded outfits as well. And looks like Israeli military strikes Hezbollah and those Syrian targets, as I was saying earlier. And there is a Trumpian offer you can only refuse. That is something that folks are talking about as well as we're talking about these tariffs. And they're saying that there's even a tariff being put or said that it may be put on Russia if they don't do something about the war that they are involved in. I think that was something that Trump put out yesterday, if I remember correctly, and all along those lines. And Indian police find a Russian woman living in a cave with two children. They were very happy. Russian mother defends the decision to live with her two daughters in the remote Indian cave. We weren't dying, love living natural. Russian woman on her Karnataki cave, and snakes are our friend. And she was saying that this Russian woman spent 8 years hiding in the forest in Kamataki. So it looks like that is something that she was doing in terms of trying to survive and all along those lines. And Sycamore Gap vandals face their fate in English court for felling a beloved tree. Sycamore Gap felling due to drunken stupidity, says defense at sentencing. And the Sycamore Gap vandal finally reveals why he cut down the tree. And definitely he claimed that he cut down the iconic tree in an act of drunken stupidity. So yes, you can have drunken stupidity in all parts of the world and all along those lines. Let's see to some U.S. stuff. I know that John's here, and I'll see who else is here, if anybody. Heavy rains in the New York region floods subways and strands vehicles. So flash floods fill the New York City subway station. Flash flooding and dangerous travel conditions hit the East Coast. Water rushes into the subway, according to the MTA CEO and chair, Jano Leiber, who responded to some of what was going on. And an investigation is underway after a fire engulfed a Massachusetts assisted living home. So the owner of the Fall River assisted living facility has come under legal scrutiny in the past. Union says that understaffing delayed rescues during the deadly Fall River fire. Impossible situation, Fall River chief reflects on the response to the deadly fire at the assisted living home. And the Senate Republicans scrambled to lock down support for Trump's spending clawbacks. So it looks like there's some question as to whether Congress will cut funds to NPR and PBS and foreign aid this week. And the GOP infighting over Trump's Doge cuts to take center stage as the deadline looms. And Republicans complained to Canada over wildfire smoke despite supporting planted heating bill. So it looks like Arizonians are seeking a probe in response to the Grand Canyon fire. And Utahns are mourning the loss of the historic Grand Canyon Lodge in North Rim fire. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. And John MacArthur, the firebrand preacher and cultural warrior, has died at the age of 86. So the influential evangelical pastor and theologian died after a extensive health battle and all along those lines. So one of the quotes from the USA Today was saying his faith became sight. And Ukrainians are unimpressed by Trump's 50-day ultimatum to Putin. I'm disappointed, but not done with Putin and Trump, Trump tells the BBC. So Russia shrugs off Trump's threats of very severe tariffs. And it looks like they're not going by this notion that he might do 100% tariffs if he does not get this ultimatum completed within 50 days. So we'll see if that is actually something that is going on or not going on. And the Financial Times says that Trump is flunking his Epstein test. Trump flails as Epstein storm rages around his government, and Van Jones, MAGA, are bamboozled on the Epstein files. So it looks like folks are still trying to figure out what's going on with that as well. And paddleboarder dies while rescuing a 12-year-old girl in a Utah reservoir. So the paddleboarder's body was recovered from the reservoir in American Fork Canyon, and the paddleboarder missing at Silver Lake Flat Reservoir has been found dead, unfortunately. This young teenager girl, and all along those lines. And Republicans are moved to block Democratic efforts to force the release of the Epstein files. So Raskin says not releasing the Epstein files, that is dangerous to the public health and safety. And the House GOP blocks Democrats' maneuvers to force release of Epstein files. And the EU could retaliate with tariffs on Bowens and bourbon if a trade deal isn't reached. So Trump's 30% tariff letter leaves EU scrambling to bring U.S. on its side. So it looks like some people are asking, would Europe actually retaliate against Trump's tariffs and all along that kind of space? And 3 universities will face Congress over anti-Semitism allegations, and that'll be going on today. So UK Berkeley Chancellor Rich Lyons testifies in front of the House Committee over anti-Semitism. And the Supreme Court has okayed Trump's plans to dismantle the Education Department. So the Supreme Court is allowing Trump to cut the education department with mass firings. Trump is posed to dismantle the education department after this favorable Supreme Court ruling that he got. I believe that was on yesterday. And the homeless population in Los Angeles cities and county drops for the second year in a row. Homelessness in Los Angeles County declines for the second straight year, and the number of people living on the streets dropped to nearly 10% countywide this year there in Los Angeles. And I know Los Angeles is preparing for some big sports activities, so that might be part of the reason for the decline, but that's just me guessing on that and all along those lines. And the U.S. imposes a 17% tariff on fresh Mexican tomatoes in hopes of boosting domestic tomatoes. So the U.S. just slapped a tariff on this grocery store staple. So it looks like there's a 17% tariff if you're hoping to get your tomatoes from Mexico. And the man who killed the two at the Kentucky church shot trooper had upcoming domestic violence hearing. So the family talks about the victims in the deadly Lexington church shooting, and the suspected Kentucky church shooter had a domestic violence hearing the next day. So he was scheduled for a domestic violence hearing that next day. And Mike Waltz is to face grillings over Signal Chat at Senate hearing for his UN role. So Waltz faces a brutal confirmation hearing for UN ambassador and all along those lines. And Donald Trump's eventful day, the Club World Cup final, being booed, celebrating with Chelsea, and a winner's medal. So definitely he had a full day, and King Charles has got some of the things that he's doing, I believe, with Trump as well, and all along those lines. So like I said, a lot's going on in the world, and I've been glad to talk about some of these things that are taking place on the world stage and all along those lines. And now I'm going to bring in folks and see what they've got on their mind. And by the way, hurricane forecasters are continuing to track a disturbance heading to the Gulf. So Invest 93L will be better organized on Tuesday morning and will move over central Florida today. So it's a tropical disturbance inching toward the Gulf and might have a possible impact for Houston. And Cuomo is to fight on in the mayor's race after a bruising primary loss to Mamdani. So it looks like former Obama staffer has ripped Cuomo campaign video. No message, no charisma, but he is staying in the New York mayoral race, and he bashes Mamdani's slick slogans. So we'll see what this all goes on, as he will be running, I guess, as a third-party candidate and all along those lines. But I've got Rick Rosno with me. I've got one of the founders of the network, Nick Palvader, and I've got as well. I've got a question for you that I did not report on, but I saw it on another story, and it involves your area of Spain. It seemed that there was a Spanish athlete, a young Spanish athlete. I think he was in his 20s, and I was wondering, they were reporting on this story because apparently he is getting some flack because he hired some dwarfs. He hired some dwarfs to come and party at his party, and one of the dwarfs even said, "Hey, we got the right to do magic and do entertainment as well. We have just as much right as other folks do as well." So I was wondering if you've been following this story, because apparently he's a well-known athlete there in Spain, and I think he was celebrating either his 21st or his 22nd birthday, and he had gone and hired some dwarfs. So some of the human rights organizations are saying that it is a violation of human rights, but one of the dwarf performers was like, "Hey, we like to perform too," and everything like that. So I was wondering if you've been hearing anything about this story since it was coming out of Spain.
No, that's the first I've heard of it, Mark. I don't have my Mickey Mouse voice, do I?
You do not at all.
Good, because the thing is, it's Mickey Mouse and the woke agenda that caused all the dwarfs to not get a job on Snow Woke. Because the thing is, they wanted to be politically correct. And then the dwarfs, there was one little dwarf who was opening his mouth and going, "Oh, well, you should blah, 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 that's discrimination." Then he changed his mind when they fired him, and they replaced him with CGI. So, as they would say, it's much ado about nothing. I mean, what happens if you hire dwarfs? That's bad. If you don't, that's bad too. It's just part of the woke agenda, and I'm not interested.
And apparently this athlete. Yeah, apparently this athlete, and it was his 18th birthday, so it was a milestone birthday, and it was at a birthday party in Barcelona. So it was the Barcelona star La Mall and everything. So they are facing an investigation because apparently they are saying that there's y'all have something in Spain called the Ministry of Social Rights. So I don't know, that's been around for a while. I don't think that the U.S. brought it to y'all and everything, and that is who is investigating this claim. So he turned 18 on Sunday, the day after his party on Saturday night, which
But
may have
what's
been.
the claim? What's the claim? He hired dwarfs, and that's a bad thing. You can't hire dwarfs.
Well, one of the dwarfs said, one of the performers says, no one disrespected us. We were allowed to work in peace and everything. And they told the Catalan radio station Rack One on the condition of anonymity, adding that 4 performers were in the group. And so we're normal people who dedicate ourselves to what we love doing in an absolute legal way. For a couple of years, these people, the ADEE, have wanted to harm us. They want to prevent us from doing what we like, but they have not offered any work or training to those who are affected. So all of this came about because of this party. And one of the guys was even saying, the performers said they dance, deliver drinks, and do magic trips to entertain guests at the events that they work at. So,
well, it just shows that this is back to the government waste of time. And unfortunately, it's the Spanish government this time. They waste a lot of time. They waste a lot of money. It has no business in the press. It has no business in front of the government. It's, by private contract. I don't see the point at all. It shouldn't even be newsworthy. As a matter of fact, the government should have nothing to do with it.
Well, apparently there's an organization in Spain called the Association for People with Achondroplasia and Other Skeletal Dysplasias with Dwarfism. So that is what ADE is.
And what's their beef?
I guess they are feeling that the dwarfs were being abused and that they were being kind of like taken advantage of.
Oh, okay, and be more specific.
But and that's what I'm trying to get. But apparently, like I said,
it's because they can't. It's just the stupid woke agenda. In other words, they see somebody that got hired and they think, oh, that's really bad. It's just like the snow woke thing. I mean, it's just absolutely horrible. It's all this garbage, much ado about nothing. And, people need to spend time doing more positive, productive things than chasing rainbows and chasing ghosts all over the place.
Well, I would just tell you this, and then I want to hear what Rick's got to say and what John and maybe even Jacoby.
I'm not paying attention to this. I haven't been listening.
No problem. We'll get to some other stories as well. But I will say just really quickly that there was a Australian that used to do a lot of the maintenance for our street festival in Durham, Centerfest. And I do know for a fact that he hired, I want to say they were dwarfs from like a country near Australia or something like that. And he hired them because they were, as he put it, very skillful in terms of climbing up and down. And they might have even had some training in circus work. But he did hire them to help with some of the stage scaffolding. I think that was the first time I might have even actually seen mine is going to the circus and actual dwarf and everything like that. But he did hire them because he felt that they were good workers.
Yeah, okay. So like I said, the people that have no complaint. They're just trying to create something out of nothing, and it's just, like I said, it's really a waste of time, waste of energy, and it shows the government, unfortunately, here apparently has more time and money, even though Spain has the same economic problems as the U.S., to devote on something that's complete waste, So I think things like this get summarily dismissed in court once they come up. When somebody goes, "Oh, you offended me," forget it. It's just a complete waste of time. And there's a lot more interesting things that
you did some of those interesting things, including what I know that Sasha will be talking about on his show, and he might join us later on as well on this show. But John, will you give it to add a comment or Jacoby, and then we'll get on to the whole notion of the tariffs and this 100% tariff threat that Trump has put out there. But did you have any thoughts on this story of dwarf rights?
No, but I'll make note of Nick's use of the word garbage for the word woke. Obviously, he doesn't know the history and the genuine purpose behind the term woke. I'll leave it at that.
All right, let's talk about some real stuff. Inflation.
There we go.
So, in last month's inflation report has it at 2.7, which is the highest since February. Scott Bessent, the Trump spokesman, said just 1 month number. You can't, learn anything from that, but we'll see. I mean, we got a ton of tariffs kicking in, and we'll see if I assume that's inflationary. I don't see how it can't be.
And does anybody think that the tariff on Russia is going to work? Like I said, I know that Sasha will probably, along with Ivan, will be talking about it. But he said,
I don't know what we get from Russia. We don't use their oil. We already have like a 500% tariff on Russia. I saw someplace. Maybe I'm misinformed, but no, I don't think any kind of economic coercion from the U.S. will do anything.
I agree with Rick. These economic coercion won't do. What really will do is if they send military weapons of defense, etc., to Ukraine. In other words,
I used to buy stuff from Russia. I bought mosaics because they have great mosaic artists in St. Petersburg. But like, if you most people think mosaics are crap because the mosaics made in America look like crap, but the ones out of Russia are just great. But as soon as Russia invaded Ukraine, I quit communicating with people in St. Petersburg because I don't need the FBI all up in my shit, and these artisans don't need the KGB up in their shit for talking with an American. So, I don't think many Americans do business with Russia right now.
On our network, we used to have 20,000 Russian doing the network, and then the war started, and that went down to 0. So
yeah, because they can't listen, they can't watch the show without their government coming down on them and sending them to frickin' Kiev.
Yes,
quick question.
Jacoby has a quick question.
Quick question. I mean, when are we gonna send, or actually people from the MAGA world who are now against Putin because now Trump is against Putin? When are they gonna send a letter of apology to Zelensky? Because what happened 5 months ago when MAGA, Trump, and all of them were so adamant that, they showed Zelensky in the White House. Trump was proving him wrong in the White House, when all Zelensky told him is you shouldn't trust Putin. Now what is Trump saying? I don't trust Putin.
That was 100 minor scandals and kerfuffles ago. Right now,
that was in February. Yeah, I agree. But what I'm saying is, it's kind of interesting how now they are on that same line. Well, they're really not, because, Trump will call Putin. Putin will say, hey, look, I'm going to release something about you. And Trump will say, hey, don't do that. So you're my good guy again. So Trump will go at the wind with whatever Putin says. But my question is now that Trump is supposedly against him, when's he going to apologize to Zelensky?
I think he's going to get an apology at the same time the Democrats apologized to him that he ruined the economy.
Good deflection.
And the stock market.
That was a nice move.
When the Democrats apologized to Zelensky.
I never said anything about the Democrats.
That was a real nice move. I was impressed, Nick, and everything. I do have a question for Sasha, since we don't have Shaquille here to answer the question and everything. But the show that comes on after is called Ukraine, Russia, and China. And I did see that Australia is doing this major tactical war games and all along those lines. So are we getting ready to escalate this whole war conflict and everything? And is Australia going to actually get involved in what's going on in China? Because they've got apparently a bunch of nations and a bunch of military out off of their ocean, and I didn't even realize how deep a navy and other kind of military they have. But apparently they've got a good military, and they're doing these trainings off of their ocean, and they're saying part of this is in response to China's possible invasion of Taiwan and just China's possible invasion of them. So what is your thoughts about Australia and the escalation into a further world war?
Well, I would recommend to concentrate on real wars instead of imaginary wars. The imaginary wars, they are imaginary wars, and only when they would or will or maybe develop into something real, then it would be worth our time to concentrate and report on it or so on. Now, about this situation with Ukraine, I have only one question. Where the number 50 came from? 50 days. It's not 20 days, 30 days, 45 days, 49 days, but it's 50 days. Where it's coming from? Anybody has the answer, please?
No, he just came.
Are you talking about the 50 days that he's giving Russia?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, the man just says arbitrary numbers, Sasha. You know, he just makes it up. Hey, I found a 25. We're going to say 25 days today. Oh, I just found, 30 is on my wall. I'm going to say 30 days today. The man has no, we see why he bankrupted casinos.
I have an answer though. 50 days is about the right time for the scandal of Epstein's file probably will die. So during 50 days, they will say, oh, it's now 36 days left, and we're going to do the. What tariffs? What are you going to do? Who gives a damn about what you're going to do with your tariffs? You will eat yourself your tariffs. Look at what Canada is preparing against you. Just wait, it's coming at you. And 50 days, so he will play around with this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We'll see next few days how these weapons are coming to Ukraine, and we'll see everything, what he says, whether it's real or not.
I know the reason. If he said 60 days, Jacoby and the Democrats would say it's too long. If he said 30 days, Jacoby and the progressives would say it's too short. If he says 50 days, they'll say it just pulled out of the air. So no matter what you do, it will not make Jacoby and the progressives happy. They are committed to being unhappy. The progressives are committed to be miserable. They're committed to not make America great again.
I'm very happy.
Nick, the best part is that Sasha asked a simple question. Sasha asked a simple question. Can you give me a reason? You came in, well, if he says 60, you won't be happy. You didn't give me a reason. You just said, if you say another arbitrary number, you still won't be happy. You're correct, because it's an arbitrary number. It has no point behind it. It's just random.
It doesn't matter, Jacoby. You're going to be unhappy no matter what.
What's the reason?
Being unhappy for the rest of their life. The rest of the time. The
question isn't making up an arbitrary number. The question is, can you give me a reason for that number? Can you give me a reason for that number?
You don't need a reason. He chose
that.
Why do you need a reason, Jacoby? And if he gave you a reason, you wouldn't like it anyway. So it doesn't matter.
If you give me a legitimate reason,
he's never going to make the progressives happy. So you know he does ignores them, and then you're not happy because he ignored you. I wonder why.
Nick, if you give me a legitimate reason, I'm happy with that legitimate reason. Base it on sound logic. Base it on something. But if you just give me an arbitrary number and say accept my arbitrary number, no. No, I'm not going to accept your arbitrary number because you just made it out of thin air.
Okay, let's talk about Epstein. Let's talk about Epstein's files. Love to talk about MAGA world going nuts about this.
I definitely want to get to Epstein's files, but before I get to Epstein's files, I wanted to pivot to another topic that I know that Nick loves dearly because he loves agencies that disappear and everything like that. So if there are thousands, probably tens of or hundreds of thousands of students that are in debt from the Department of Education, which monitors student loans, and we're about
those debts are not going away. Those debts are not going away. That's not a Republican thing. They every time Biden tried to erase some student debt, they attacked him. So the Department of Education, which I think was started under Carter. Right. There used to, before that, there was the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. They gave it its own department, 40 some years ago. But no, your debt is sticking around. So I have a question for the conservatives and the liberals on the panel. So with the Epstein stuff, like it's been clear to everybody, MAGA or not, liberal or conservative, that Trump as a person is a horrible person. But the MAGAs are willing to accept his horribleness, including his getting hand jobs from 16-year-old girls or whatever the hell he did, because they believe that the good he does outweighs him being the devil. So, what do you think? Does like Trump has shut down the southern border? Now, I don't know about his methods. I assume there's all sorts of cruel crap going on, but he did do that. That's maybe his one definite, achievement in the past few months. But is Trump good at anything, even though he's a piece of crap?
No.
Rick, you say he shut down the southern border, and that means that less people are coming in, and I will give you that and everything. But there's this whole notion. I remember that you study history, then you study the Underground Railroad and things along those lines. Just because they are not being caught or counted doesn't mean that they're not coming in and everything like that. So that's what is being officially reported, is this lesser numbers and making him look good in that sense. But are we sure that people are still not coming in the country that are illegal and that are coming in different other ways? They might have their own network and different ways of getting in.
So border crossings are
the Underground Railroad. We don't mind sending them to Canada. Canada wants the immigrants. We'll just do a pipeline to Canada. I have no problem with that.
No.
I don't think any of the MAGA people have a problem with that. So, Canada wants the immigrants. Let them go to Canada. We want to do an Underground Railroad. We'll do a direct express to Toronto. Tons of Mexican and Venezuelan immigrants. And you guys
can out the actual border crossings are down. Border crossings had been going down for a while, but yes, border crossings are down. So the complaint about this being an invasion or anything, that's null and void. Hence the reason why he's upped the ante on demonizing those immigrants that are here. And he's trying to make it a big push and, hey, we're sending people to these all raids and all this showcase and stuff. So to answer your question, is Trump good at anything? Trump is a great salesman. He's a great con artist. He's fooled a lot of people. He's starting to get caught in his lies from the people that he actually sold these lies to. For example, the Epstein list, which is what we're, I guess, going to talk about at some point. He sold them on all these other conspiracies, from Pizzagate to all this other stuff. None of that is panned out, but people moved on because they bought into everything Trump was, because he's a great salesman. I'll give him that. Great talker to his crowd, able to pinpoint the feelings that they're searching for, that they're needing, that they feel that nobody's speaking for them. So he's able to reach in and tap into that. Great salesman because of that. So with the Epstein list, that's where things are starting to, if he does not release the list or something to showcase, he's going to really start to get called on a lot more lies than he has been, because he sold everybody, many of his people, because he's this big bad dude who's he's going to show the manly man that he's standing up for women, standing up for Epstein, and standing up against Epstein, all these people on the Epstein list, and the government, I can speak for you now. I can be the champion, and I've released the JFK information, which we already knew about. I've released the MLK stuff, which we've already known about. So I'm releasing all these government secrets, and the Epstein list is the biggest secret that he sold his people, and he's not releasing it. So now his people are calling his bluff, and now he's in trouble.
And there's a thing that's happening. We're being forced, because in the middle of all this, the MAGAs are yelling, Bill Clinton, because Clinton is all over Epstein too. And what's being forced to happen is we're being forced to imagine both these old guys, what they actually did on frickin' Epstein Island, and anything you can imagine is just the ugliest stuff of, like, just super creepy. Like
when it's super creepy, there's no doubt about that and everything like that. Hey, I did have a question for everybody on the panel, but I'm actually going to tease the Toby and everything, because I did see that there was a major fight. I think it was a UFC fight and everything like that. And after the fight, Dana White, the head of the UFC, got the fighter on a call with President Trump and everything like that. So I was just wondering, because you are in the sports world to some degree, among other things. If the Bulls give a phone and hand it to you and it's Trump on the other line, are you going to answer the phone?
I'm not going to answer that question, Mark. I'm not going to answer that.
Yeah, he's going to pull a Trump. He's not going to discuss that.
I mean, yeah, you got to realize if you're going to direct it towards an employer or employee that I'm dealing with, I'm not going to answer them.
I have a little story. Like Kristi Noem, who runs Homeland Security, is being revealed as just kind of an idiot, but we kind of knew that anyway. So today on the Homeland Security Twitter feed, so usually Homeland Security just puts up mugshots of brown people who have been caught and like guilty of assault with a deadly weapon, guilty of murder. It's just a bunch of, look at all the bads we caught. But today they put up some goods. They tweeted out, remember your homeland's heritage, and they put up 3 white people in a covered wagon. So
there we go.
They did what?
They in the middle of a string of bad brown people, they put up a painting of 3 white people in a covered of a white dad, a white mom holding a white baby in a covered wagon that said, "Remember your homeland's heritage."
So they basically put up Little House on the Prairie.
Yes, they did that.
And what's your beef about this?
That it just is like real. It's minor, but it's like obnoxious. That it's like bad brown person, bad brown, bad brown, bad brown. Oh, look at these good whites. It's like
I see. So the thing is,
what they're doing.
Even historically, because they settled the area, they're all of a sudden bad because no reason.
Well, it's like, I don't know. It's just like what?
No, it's back to the progressive movement. They're always looking for something bad. There's nothing bad.
Can I comment on
Hold on a second, Nick.
Canadian
Canadian
immigration?
You want to find misery.
Immigration?
But you said that you said they settled the area and everything. Are you going to tell me that there were not Chinese and Latin and African Americans and others that also settled those areas? In some cases, settled the areas even more than the whites.
Yeah, but you're talking about San Francisco. You're talking about the West. I'm sorry, the West was mainly a migration of people from Europe who couldn't stand being serfs and servants. But you guys never mentioned that they were basically slaves in Austria, Hungary, and they were moving over here. No. You want to make them out to be bad because they're white. You don't want to make them good because in reality, a lot of them were serfs, peasants, and slaves. But you don't want to mention that at all because that doesn't fit the progressive agenda, which is to knock the white people down. And that needs that. So the thing is, that's the reason you guys aren't in office, because you only see with blinders. There's nothing wrong with putting stuff like that up.
Are you saying there were white people that were slaves, Nick? Is that your point?
No. What I'm saying is that a lot of the people that came from Europe that went over and settled the West, yes, they were white, but yes, they were. They were peasants. They were slaves. They were serfs. Even my great ancestor came over.
What proportion compared with the black?
Okay. He came over as an indentured servant. He was a royal, but they lost the bloody war. And his choice was to get his head
proportion
to America.
So what I'm
trying to make him like a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. Okay, so he's a progressive agenda, which most
what's
of
the proportion
America
of whites?
One of the reasons you guys lost the election.
Hold on, Nick. So what I'm gathering is that you want us to celebrate the colonizers. Got it. I see you took down what I was going to share.
You want to share this?
I'm going to share it to y'all. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. What I was talking about before. This is true.
Donald Trump said, well, in 2016, Donald Trump said that he would release his taxes. Did he? No, he lied. In 2016, Donald Trump said he would build a wall with Mexico and Mexico would pay for it. Did he do it? No, he lied. During his term, he promised a health care bill. Did he do it? No, he lied. During his first term, he promised an infrastructure bill. Did he do it? No, he lied. He said he didn't have anything to do with Stormy Daniels. Then it was proven that he had an affair with her and paid to cover it up. He lied. In 2014, Russia invaded Ukraine and Crimea. Trump was president during the war. Did he stop the war then? No, not only that, but he was impeached for illegally stopping congressional aid that would have helped Ukraine fight the war. So no, he was not going to stop the war in one day. And we knew that because it was proven. You say you wanted him to cut the deficit. Donald Trump in his first term ballooned the deficit more than anybody in modern American history. So no, he was not going to do that. You say Donald Trump, well, at least he's being good on immigration. Legally, Joe Biden deported 4 million people. Donald Trump, 1.7 million his term. Joe Biden was much tougher on immigration than Donald Trump. So no, he's not even better on immigration. And now let's talk about this Epstein list. You say you're not going to let go because Donald Trump said that he would release the Epstein list, and you're a real man, so you believed him. You didn't consider the fact that Donald Trump is convicted of 34 felonies for libel regarding sexual assault. You didn't consider the fact that Donald Trump is on the Epstein flight logs. You didn't consider the fact that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein are photographed and videoed together for years, that Epstein said that Donald Trump was his best friend. You didn't consider the fact that Donald Trump is named by one of Epstein's assailants as another assailant in court documents. You didn't consider the fact that the man that let Jeffrey Epstein off the first time with a sweetheart plea deal that he didn't even tell the victims, that Donald Trump promoted him to Secretary of Labor. You don't consider the fact that Donald Trump made Attorney General the man whose father first hired Epstein. You don't consider the fact that Donald Trump made Howard Lutnick, Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor, the Commerce Secretary now. You don't consider the fact of all those connections or Donald Trump's court-proven misdeeds in sexual assault. That didn't cross your mind that, well, maybe I shouldn't believe him about Epstein. You don't get to hide from the truth, Andrew, when you're a real man. Donald Trump lied for 8 years. We have the receipts. It was proven, and we were all telling you. So no, it's not true that you didn't know what Donald Trump would do. We told you exactly what he'd do because he did it. You chose, big man, what is happening right now because you wanted to feel tough and masculine. That you don't have to care what other people think of Donald Trump. Okay, goddamn fool.
Okay, we got that this
This is
person
one-
is psycho and has a problem with veracity because a lot of stuff he said just wasn't basically true.
What?
He speaks.
No, you can't just do that. You can't say it wasn't basically true. What wasn't true?
And again, this goes back.
Nick, that was not true.
Okay, he goes, Obama deported more people. Goes back to you can never make the progressives happy with Trump.
Wait, Nick,
He didn't deport enough people.
Stop, Nick.
Come on,
I'm gonna keep laughing.
come on.
Stop.
See, that's the problem.
You just said
Maga
that
see right
he did
through
not
your game.
say stuff that was not
That was a
true.
horrible
Nick,
rant
Counsel,
by a very
What was not
lawyer.
true? What was
What
not
is
true, my
not
friend?
true?
What was not true?
You said the guy said
Name
did
a few
Obama
things that was
did
not
Obama
true,
deport more
Nicky.
people than Donald
Go
Trump?
ahead, we're waiting.
So the thing is, the guy just gets up and rants and lies. Not
What
a he'll
did
rant
you
and
say
lie.
that was a lie?
Hey, bring him on to this show. Bring him on, Dave.
No.
I'm asking
Name
you.
what he lied.
Nick, you said he lied.
What a
You
rant.
said he lied, Nick.
Yeah, he
What
did.
did he lie about?
Nick, you're a lawyer.
What did he
What
lie
give
I
about?
me-
mean, well, even the national debt. He said, Trump increased it more. Well, he didn't.
Yes, he
You know,
did.
I mean,
25%. He jumped at 25% when he came in office.
Yeah,
That was more than any other president before him.
On that, and they said, no, it wasn't true.
Nick,
You know,
Nick,
guys,
you're an Nick.
So
Nick.
I don't know why
Nick,
a rant
Fact
like
one.
that.
Fact
But if you
one.
did look at reality, which you won't,
Nick,
the border has been basically
Nick.
down.
he
Illegal
didn't say anything
immigration.
about the border, did he?
They're totally,
He said deported
Yeah.
more people.
Say it. I know you're going to cry, but
No,
the
Nick,
stock
you're
market's
just trying
all-time high.
to see.
Why
This
did he say-
is
why
the
did he say
argument.
stock market was-
This is
was
the
an all-time
argument
high
of the
to
person
me?
who cannot
Why didn't
defend
he
your
do
position.
that? Why didn't he
You
say the stock
legitimately
market is
said-
all-time high? Why didn't he say participation in the stock market is 50% of America? Why didn't he say stuff like that? Why didn't he say inflation was down?
50% of America is
You
investing
know why I
in the
didn't
stock
say
market.
any of that stuff? Because this guy is just a
Nick.
random agenda
Nick,
queen
Nick,
progressive.
Nick.
I mean, give me a break.
One, you said that he was saying false stuff, and then you cannot name
No one
anything
can hear
that
him.
he said
You
that was
cannot.
Blah, 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 blah.
You cannot pinpoint
No,
one
Nick
thing that he said was
Katogi,
wrong.
you're tired of Obama.
That's the reason Rick didn't want to. The guy just rants on.
We have
You-
sides
Yeah,
with
keep shaking,
Trump.
buddy.
So let's talk about real issues. Let's talk about the
All right.
It's obvious. It's obvious. You
Even
don't know
Bill
what you're
Clinton said
talking
it,
about.
the
Everything
economy
you said was
stupid.
true.
How's the stock market doing? We know in Canada you guys aren't
Don't
doing.
distract and deflect.
Hey,
like-
we
I
know
just
Canada,
said,
John, you're not doing so
You
well.
are unable, unwilling.
One of our companies has a
Don't
greater
change the subject.
net worth than your entire GDP.
Don't
I don't know
change
why
the
you're listening.
subject.
Go ahead.
Deflect and that's what you always do.
Go ahead and talk.
Well, speaking about
Toby asked you what he said that wasn't true. We're waiting. And I will fact check you in real time.
Okay, go check the national debt. Go ahead.
No, he didn't say. What did he say specifically that
Well,
was
no
not
one
true?
can understand him because he's ranting and raving.
No, I
I
understood him,
didn't
I
listen,
understood him very clearly.
you know?
Your ears
Yes,
not
but
working.
he-
All I heard was-
Hold on. This is the funny part. This is the funny part. Real quick, Nick, you said nobody can understand.
Certainly
it.
not objective.
I get it. Sometimes dialects are hard to get. Nick, I get it. Sometimes dialects and people speaking fast may be hard. But you know what's even better?
No,
They put up the words. So are you
No.
saying that you can't read now?
no. You know, the thing is, he was just ranting. That was just what they call a progressive rant. He wasn't objective. He didn't
What
go
did he
through
say
the
that
issues.
was false?
All he did was rant.
What
You know,
did
did
he
he
say
say
that
that
was
was a
all
lie?
kid, grandkid to rant. Have you ever
What
seen a
was
baby
it
cry?
that
What did he say
was
that was a
false,
lie?
Nick?
Don't you understand what he's saying? You didn't lie.
What did he say that was false?
Deflect and detract. What did
No
he
one
say
can
that was
understand.
false?
Help
So-
me, Nick. Help me
And-
Well,
understand.
we'll fact check you in
Yeah.
real
I mean,
time.
you're saying a rant right now, so should we
Put
just
down in
ignore
his
your rant?
rant that the stock market reached an all-time high under Trump. Did he do that? Did he do that, Jacoby?
Don't deflect it. Don't
My
deflect
question
and
to you,
distract.
Did the guy say anything about the stock market?
John,
Did the
did
guy
you
say anything about the stock market?
Well, I asked you one.
He was
Don't
simple
deflect
question.
and distract.
Did he talk about the stock market?
Answer the
Did
question. What did he say that
ever
was not true?
Say that under the Trump administration, the stock market was an
Don't
all-time.
Did he
deflect
talk
and
about the stock
distract,
market?
Nikki. Don't deflect and distract.
Yes or
What
no?
was
I just want to know, did he say it or not?
Did he
Video?
talk about the stock
He didn't
market?
talk about the stock market at all.
He didn't. He didn't mention
No.
anything about the stock market.
He's
Check
he's
yours, buddy.
driven. So why would anyone want to listen to
So
him?
what did he say that was a lie, Nick?
And this is the,
Nick,
this is the
what
thing
did he say that was a
Bill
lie?
had.
Nick, help me.
Like
Help
progressives
me.
because
Nick,
you guys-
Nick, help me.
you guys are so
I'm asking you a question. Help me
you're not making any
understand.
sense,
What
Nick.
did he say that was a
What
lie?
did he say that was not true?
you know, who knows what he said? He was just ranting.
But
Well,
you're
hold
just
on.
ranting.
No, hold
you're
on,
doing
everybody,
the
hold on a
same
second.
thing.
Well, I'm
Hold on,
listening to a ranter.
hold on, because I'm gonna pivot to Sasha. I'm gonna pivot to Sasha. Hold on, Nick. I'm gonna pivot to
Yeah,
Sasha.
ranting.
You brought it up and everything along those lines. What? Because you got a show on Wednesdays. I knew you got your show today on Fridays, which is Ukraine, Russia, China. But on Wednesdays we do modern investment. How much credit should Trump get for what's going on in the stock market? I know Nvidia just hit this $1 trillion market. Does Trump get credit for that and everything along those lines? You are the person that is more in the economic space of all six of us and everything.
Well, let's see. There's one company in the United States, Nvidia, which Sasha follows, who has a what I call it, a market cap greater than the whole economy of Canada. Now you tell me. Okay. I'm not going to attribute. Oh, it's all his. It's Congress, etc. But it's stating a fact. It was an all-time high under Trump. This guy didn't want to mention that because it would not fulfill his progressive agenda. Whatever it might be.
Nvidia
Nvidia was making
best part about this-
all-time highs almost every day under Biden. Almost
okay.
every single day, Nvidia was making all-time high. So what Trump has to do with Nvidia? This idiot couldn't even say to African leader from Liberia. He says, "You have a wonderful English. Where did you learn English?" The idiot doesn't know that Liberia was formed from the former U.S. Slaves.
Yes.
They went and they set up a new country, Liberia, when naturally English was the only language how people there communicated. The idiot doesn't know this, that every schoolboy should know. He doesn't know. That's what kind of an idiot you have as your president.
No, that doesn't. that doesn't-
Here, wait. I've got numbers. I've got
Idiot.
numbers for you
Go
guys.
on.
So
Alright.
Kiplinger, the financial publication, ranked the presidents from worst to best on the stock market. Number one best for gains while they were president, Calvin Coolidge. Number two, Clinton. Number three, Trump first term. Number four, Barack Obama. Number five, Biden. So it's I don't. They've
Wait, Trump was
these
number three?
presidents.
I don't see how you could say that, Rick, because I got progressives to the left of me and right of me that have to make that wrong somehow.
Well, all
Nobody
I'm
said
saying
anything,
is
Nick.
stock
Come on,
Nobody said anything
Canadians
about
and Americans that hate Trump.
No, hold
Nobody
on.
said
All I'm
anything about
saying is that in the 21st century, the stock market hit new highs multiple times under every single president.
So
Yeah.
let me interject this real quick, which I find very interesting, and this is how the arguments or the discussions and arguments tend to go. We were talking about the Epstein list. We were talking about a gentleman who just brought up a bunch of facts that were dealing with the Epstein list. But what are we talking about now? The stock market. That has nothing to do with the Epstein list. What we just did was deflect as much as we could
Yeah.
to ignore the facts that were put before us because we could not defend those facts. And so what we did, because we deflected so hard and threw spaghetti against the wall, what stuck is the stock market. That's how you end up changing an argument and deflecting and pivoting away from something that you know you cannot defend.
Epstein list, buddy. Let's talk about the Epstein list.
You don't understand. You guys are so far off base. The number one issue for the Americans is the economy. Then number two is immigration. Trump actually did understand it. You guys think it's sexual relationships with men or men with women or women with women or whatever the heck you guys think.
Or
about.
transgenders.
Guess what? That is way
Transgenders?
down on anybody's agenda. It doesn't make anybody here better or worse. So of course we dismiss that summarily because does it
So,
affect
Just
the
to point out,
economy?
just
Does
to
it
point out
affect
again,
immigration?
we were talking about the Epstein list, and now we're going into another deflection. Exactly what Donald Trump's trying to do when his whole MAGA crowd
Move along and,
instead release the Epstein list. This is why those influencers released the Epstein list. So the thing was, it wasn't the economy that was number one for those individuals that voted for Trump. That is pinpointed by the fact, hold on, Nick, by the fact that the MAGA wing right now is upset at Donald Trump. This is why Dan Bongino is talking about leaving because of the handling of the Epstein list. Do you know what Dan Bongino's life was before he got into actual when he was hired for his position? He was actually a podcaster, one of his wealthiest positions, making a ton of money. And what did he make his money off of? Hey, we're going to get them to release the Epstein list because the government is hiding something. So when he is talking about, hey, I'm going to leave the government right now because of its handling over the Epstein list, why is he doing that? Because after he leaves the government, what's he going to do? He's going back to his rich lifestyle of podcasting, and his whole fan base is based around the Epstein list. Pam Bondi is hiding it. All of them are hiding it. They campaigned on it. So when you say the number one issue right now is the economy, blah, 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 no, his people do not give a crap about it. Because if you talk about the economy and talk about the prices being higher now than they were last year and continuing to rise based on the tariffs and the increase in inflation, as Rick just brought up, which were up 0.3% off of last month. So inflation is starting to heat up. And if you want to talk about the economy, sure, but that's not the number one thing. For the MAGA wing that people are starting to revolt over, it is the Epstein list. Hence the reason why Donald Trump has ranted on his actual his social media Oh, let's stop
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
Epstein,
yeah.
let's stop. Let's
Yeah.
leave it alone.
Yeah.
He literally called Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk had to change his whole speech at Turning Point USA yesterday, saying, well, you know, I'm going to trust the people in the. Dude, you just went on for a month about how you were going to get them to release the Epstein list. So say what you want, Nick. The Epstein list is number one on MAGA's world right now.
Number one on the progressive agenda.
That's MAGA's world.
Look, you're not going to get any richer.
Number
or-
one in the MAGA world, baby.
You know, so the
Epstein
thing
list.
is, it's not really material to anything.
Well, what kind of statement?
So, all right. So, what we've been forced to realize is that in our lifetimes, we've had the two rapiest presidents in history. Clinton, and they had different rape styles. Clinton liked to come. He liked to reach orgasm. Trump likes to be mean to women. Trump often, when he abuses women, he just likes to grab them and humiliate them. And for Trump, it's not about reaching. So there's two different rape styles. One other thing is we don't know how rapey past presidents were because that's lost to history, and what you could get away with probably changed. Like Andrew Jackson could have been super rapey, though he was an old man by the time he was president. Grover Cleveland married the young woman that he'd been the legal guardian of. So that's pretty creepy. He used to be your dad, and then he married her. So,
But you want to put it in context a little bit more, Rick. Check this out. If we didn't know about, if you want to say the past presidents.
oh wait,
or
one
the
more.
presidents,
Or if
check this out.
JFK had a sex room in the basement of the White House, a bang room.
But check this out. Only one of them was knowingly voted for.
Yeah, I mean, there was.
The reason why he was knowingly voted for by the majority of Americans for a
Can't say
huge,
it was the majority because the majority actually voted for somebody else.
huge wave is because of the weakness of the Democratic and the stubbornness of the Democratic Party, which is one reason a lot of people left the Democratic Party, because they don't buy into your progressive BS.
Deflection, distraction.
The bottom line, you know. And so that's the reason you have Trump. You have Trump because of the weakness of the position. You're not objective. You don't plan on being objective, and all you do is spew hate toward Americans. So what are you supposed to do?
Nick, all you do is deflect and
People in
distract.
America,
I'm not deflecting. I'm trying to keep the issues on material
So
ground.
we're talking about the
Make it
Epstein list.
And you guys want to talk about something often left corner.
Yeah,
There
number
are
one.
very important
topic
issues that America
in the
needs to
world.
discuss, and you want to talk about some dead guy and a bunch of
Yeah,
girls
Epstein list,
30,
baby.
40 years ago. I'm not interested.
Epstein list.
And frankly, I don't think the courts are, because there's a thing called the statute of limitations. And after a while, the statute of limitations have run, and
Deflection,
so we're going
distraction.
to run because we're almost at the we got 2
Yeah.
minutes. Hey, so Jatomi can
Better
ramble.
run. Deflect, distract.
As
As
no,
always, that's what you do, Nick.
bringing people to issues that matter to issues that matter to them are the economy, inflation,
number
their
one.
ability to save money for retirement. There are a lot of issues that matter to people, and
MAGA world
you guys
imploding right now.
you're just making that stuff up. It's just like you said the other day. Well, the economy's going to tank because of the tariffs.
Nobody said that.
Well, the economy hasn't tanked, has it?
Oh
Okay.
wait, I forgot about another rapey president, Thomas Jefferson. Obviously, with
Thomas
sex as
Jefferson.
his slave.
Yeah. He did get around, didn't he? Well, speaking about getting around, we need to leave because I think Ukraine's coming up next.
Yeah,
right?
MAGA world.
So we'll see you tomorrow on World Edition.
Bye, Jatovi.
Bye bye. Bye, Jatovi. Get the last word.